Good morning.
Good morning. Cheers.
Welcome to the Rohrman route. We're excited to finally be sitting down and sharing about our first week on the road on our big adventure where we're growing deeper roots together as a family. So
pretty crazy. We're in week 2 already.
It's beginning week 2. Yeah.
Feels like.
Yeah, let's share about, so the first 6 days of our trip were just a big dose of family, which was amazing. We had these family camp trip to Life Action Family Camp. I think Tate already dropped a little video from that, which was awesome. Just a great time of with Rohrman family, and then also time just under the Word of God, just reminding us, which was really cool, how God had made the topic to be rooted. And it was just perfect for us to really think about as a family what it looks like to grow roots in healthy soil, and as a family working together and pursuing God together. So it was really a great time. Then from there, went to my large extended family reunion out in Missouri. And that was just loads of fun over 4th of July, just such a sweet time together, as a big family always is. And then from there is where we headed out on our big adventure. He's been like the mapping out the plan. So why don't you share where we've been?
I got to shout out rvlife.com. It has made this whole thing possible. Because obviously back in March when we were planning this, I was like, man, how are we going to do this without me screwing up a night or several nights and blah, blah, blah. So, RV Life has been awesome, helping us, plan where to next and the map and, make sure we don't go on a road that has a bridge too low for our camper. So, as we left Chillicothe, Missouri, we headed west and our first stop was going to be Mount Rushmore, which was incredible. We're going to spend a lot of time today just kind of recapping that. But on the way to Mount Rushmore was the Badlands National Park, which originally was not on the route. That was kind of a late ad, just given people's recommendations. And man, was it cool. Totally unique part of the country that I've quite frankly never even seen in a school book or pictures of.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. But when we were there, one of the kids said, it looks like Star Wars Galaxy.
It did.
And it did. It looked like we were almost on another planet.
Yeah.
The rocks and the formation and just like the desolated ground. Yeah. It was like, yes, this is... I understand why this is called the Badlands. It was
cool.
Yeah, so it was very neat.
We ended up spending, 3 to 4 hours there, which was cool and plenty. So it was just off the drive on the way to Mount Rushmore. So Mount Rushmore, though, in the Black Hills of South Dakota, super cool.
Super neat.
Gorgeous. Yeah. My family grew up kind of going to Spooner, Wisconsin, and I just felt like the Black Hills of South Dakota was like the North Woods of Wisconsin and Michigan on steroids.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really pretty.
Tall, beautiful pines.
Yeah.
The canyon, the valleys, the rocks thrown into all of it was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the place we stayed at was Mount Rushmore KOA, which being our first official campground where we stayed 3 nights, I might have set us up with the kids because, wow, that place was epic. It was huge, and it had a ton to do, including all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast, which we had a competition.
Who won?
It was Titus and Cohen. Tie. They agreed for a tie to split the $3 pot and dessert.
And pancake competition leads to dessert. Okay.
I think Titus would have won. He's definitely our breakfast eater, but he's also keeps peace. And he was starting to get full after nearing the fourth pancake. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the campground was awesome. But how about Mount Rushmore?
So yeah, Mount Rushmore, that is definitely where I felt like I was most surprised. God surprised me with that stop. I wasn't necessarily looking forward to, when people say, what are you looking forward to most? Wasn't necessarily Mount Rushmore. But I absolutely loved going to that site. I think too, just it being kind of an entrance into our entire trip was really special and meaningful, just to recount the history of America. They had just an amazing museum where you walked through. There was a movie that told you just like how America started, why Mount Rushmore got started, how it came about, and honestly, it was just super cool to just recount how we as a family are getting to kind of live that American dream of getting to go out west and be a family, take roots wherever the road takes us, and just how genuinely unique that is as a country for us to be able to have the freedom to do that and to visit these incredible parks along the way, and the incredible land of America, how diverse the countryside is, all the things. So yeah, I would say for me, that was one of the areas that I was most just overwhelmed with thankfulness to our country, and also that God has given us this opportunity as a family to have these roots that we're building together through travel. So yeah.
And that it all happened on our 250-year anniversary. It's pretty cool. As we were there just a couple days after President Trump, I'm like, man, I think a lot of people probably planned it this way, but we didn't. So that was also kind of neat. I also think kind of one of the mindset takeaways that I had was, when you look at the mountain, you see these 4 men who led our country and did incredible things, made tough and probably terrible decisions at the same point. But they were men who kind of set our country up. Obviously, 4 people don't do everything that has been done over the course of 250 years. But the mindset takeaway for me was that when you look at the mountain, it's not perfect. And you've got a lot of unfinished edges. And something we took away from the video was some gal shared, and I kind of saw this too, was the unfinished work that we have in stewarding what we've been allowed, and as you said, Catherine, freedoms, but also our faith and our family. We've seen a lot of different countries and represented, and man, are we blessed to have the country we live in. And Mount Rushmore was an awesome start, and really just kind of made an impact on the kids too. I think when we did the evening, they do an evening lighting ceremony, and the gentleman, the park ranger that led that, did a great job. But I think it gained the attention of our kids, especially the older 4 or older 3, I would say, when they saw the 200 some people come down who had served our country. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was.
So
it was also neat. During the lighting ceremony was really neat. Really stuck with both Trey and I was he quoted JFK's ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that goes along with what Trey was saying about how an incredible piece of art those sculptures of the president's faces were, but it was still so unfinished because it's on a raw mountain. And it really does give you that picture of like, wow, like life in this kingdom here on this earth is so unfinished, and we each get to play a part in it. And instead of looking at like what can this do for me, instead of changing your mindset and saying, like, what can I do? He was giving that speech for Americans to consider what they could do for their country, but also really impacted. We had a great little conversation as a family. One of the things we've been really trying to hone in on is the how, helping others win, and as a family, and then also like having eyes to look out. And we just were like, wow, look at that. Like JFK gave a how speech. He said, like, help others win. Think about not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And it's just been neat how God has just like twined that message in without us even trying, and how that memorial of Mount Rushmore was so impactful for us. And I didn't really see that coming, which was really neat. Very sweet.
Last interesting fact that we found, which is worth sharing, is that there is a drill bit that got lodged under George Washington's right eye, that when they have the snow melt, when the snow is melting from warmer weather, it makes it look, the drip off the drill bit actually makes it look like he's crying. I thought that was really cool.
Washington's eye. Yeah, that was really cool. That was actually the kids' favorite thing. Like,
yeah, we had to share that. The kids loved that. They thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, that there's a bit that got stuck in there and they could never get it out.
They couldn't get it out.
Just left it.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
So, George Washington did a lot of things, but he definitely cried, I'm sure, too.
Cried for the country. So.
All right, where do we go next?
Went to Yellowstone, which...
It was a big travel. That was a lot of
drive. It was a big
travel
day for us.
Yep.
Yeah, the travel has been really fun. Honestly, driving in an RV, I was going to say, when people asked me before we left the trip, what am you most nervous about? I would definitely say, I would always say the travel, because you're basically in a moving car, in a moving house, and that can be one of those things that feels like a little uncontrolled, and people are walking around and it's moving and it's just overstimulating. But so far it has been really fun days. Honestly, just been really special to have the drive time. So yeah, we've broken it up a little bit along the way, which is helpful too. But yeah, we ended up...
That was a 400-mile trip, steeper inclines. And that day of travel from Mount Rushmore to the east side of Yellowstone and Cody, Wyoming, we crossed the Bighorn mountain range, which is one of the bigger ones we're going to do on this trip. And I didn't realize it was so early. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but thankfully we decided, by wise counsel of friends and family, we unhooked the Navigator, and Catherine drove it over the mountain range, so I didn't have that extra 6-ish thousand pounds pushing me down the hill. So that was... Thanks for driving, honey.
I would love to. It was actually really fun to follow you through the mountains.
Well, once we got to Cody, Wyoming, that was kind of, man, we were in Yellowstone.
Yeah, Yellowstone for the rest of that.
It's a cowboy country.
Really. Yeah, unreal. I mean, Yellowstone, I think, is a national park most people are pretty familiar-ish with. At least I was a little bit... This is maybe a park that I knew the most about going into. But wow, the diversity of the land as you're driving, unreal. It's just like mountains to canyons and valleys. There's, fire-scorched land, which is crazy to look at. And then there's also just lush, incredible, full forestry. And then there's rivers and lakes. And then there's waterfalls and wildlife, like everywhere. There's the hot springs you're looking. It just seems like every couple miles, it's just almost like a whole new world. You're like, whoa, look at this, or wow, look at that. And that's been a sweet, special little thing that I've enjoyed watching the kids ooh and ah, like, oh, wow, oh, cool. And that's been really special for me to see because, sometimes I feel like with parenting, there's things that you're like, do the kids understand how amazing this is?
Right.
And I do feel like that has been something so far. I've been pleasantly surprised with our kids' interactions with the parks and just the uniqueness, is they've been like, whoa, cool. Like just even seeing a mud pot at Yellowstone, like they just were staring at it like, how is it doing that? Why is it doing that? And just to even look at them and be like, I do not know. And to learn alongside them Mud Volcano has just been really a sweet, special surprise too along the way, is just kind of seeing things through their eyes and then realizing just how much about this world that just don't know and don't understand, and getting to learn too. So it's been really fun.
So Yellowstone, first impressions, it's just like picturesque. I mean, on the East Gate, and I'll share a little bit about I did a little time lapse as we drove in, so I'll drop that. It's hard to kind of tell, but it's everywhere you turn, it's like, well, that could be a picture. So it's absolutely beautiful park, and it's massive. 2.2 million acres is how big Yellowstone is. That's the other kind of interesting thing, is like along the way here, there's been a lot of like things that pop in our minds that go like, I wonder how big Yellowstone is, or why does mud volcanoes exist? Right? So like it's been really interesting.
Schooling on the road. Schooling.
It is.
Definitely just by like
even for us
experiences. Yeah.
This is school for us, not just the 5 kids. So I'm really excited about that, because that's in just a week. I've probably had 3 or 4 times where I've had thoughts that have led to an education opportunity. Yeah. So Yellowstone's picturesque. I mean, so far, the moment where I just was like, wow, God, was the Lower Falls overlook of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. I mean, it just like, it even gave my tummy looking over and into that, the amount of water rushing over that, and then just, the expanse of it was, give me butterflies. Like I can say a weekend, that was the most like, whoa moment for me from a creation and a outdoors perspective. So that was probably the best spot in Yellowstone through week 1. And then we moved from there. We went down to a little park it's called Fireside in Buffalo Valley. And it was about 30 minutes north of Jackson Hole, and about 12 minutes outside of the park entrance for Grand Tetons. It was great. This was our second time to Grand Tetons in Jackson Hole. We were there 3 years ago. Maybe we can drop a picture in the comparison of the famous antler arch.
Yeah, got our picture there.
That might be kind of cool. But so Jackson Hole, what do you think?
Yeah, we had a fun day in Jackson Hole, and it was a Sunday. So that's been one thing we decided before the trip, is we love just meeting different communities of believers. And so what a great opportunity as we travel to just be welcomed in by God's people in different regions of the West. Yep. So this was Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We went to the First Baptist Church. So Reverend Rex was the pastor and also led the singing, the hymns. And it was really just another God moment where looking over at Trey like, wow, thank you, Lord. He also had a similar message in Philippians 1 where Paul said, it was kind of a how moment for him, helping others win. He wrote about his imprisonment and how because of his imprisonment, even though he wished he wasn't in prison and he could be with the people of Philippi, instead he was there and the gospel was being advanced through the entire imperial guard. And it was just another moment where I look over at Trey and I'm like, wow, that message is just ringing true over and over again this week. Through we've already talked about the ceremony at Mount Rushmore, and then for us to be talking about it, and then also to hear it in Sunday sermon, was really neat, just to see God's hand and giving those opportunities for us to just keep meditating on what does that look like to advance the gospel based on where God has you in your circumstances and in your season of life. So yeah, just thankful for that too. But so that kind of ends our week of travels. So first thing that came to my mind was watching Cal get into the Yellowstone Lake. It was like a cold plunge, and he absolutely loved it. It was hilarious because he was getting in and he was like, "Oh, this is horrid. This is horrid." But he kept doing it,
Let's do it again.
"Let's do it. I'm going to go more. I'm going to go more." And it just made me laugh. Like, just one of those laughs where you're just like, "You're crazy and I love you." So
Cal definitely likes doing hard physical things. Yeah. So one of the things that we want to talk about on the Rohrman route is just the learns, the wins, and what challenged us. So we've definitely been challenged in week one. What do you think, honey? What would you like to share about? I think you physically have been challenged a little bit. What's challenged you the most physically? Give our 9-year-old self a look into how you're feeling.
Yeah, I think, the preparation going into leaving and just having family camp and family reunion right before this, I think my body was just ripe for earning myself a little cold. So definitely came down with something sinus related, ended up pretty intense cough, still working through it. I would say that would be a challenge of the first week of getting into just, the routines of life on the road is a lot of packing up and unpacking and finding a routine and rhythm so you know where things are. And just me not feeling 100% with just kind of has set me to where I feel like we're now like going into our second week and I still feel like I haven't found my flow or my groove, but just kind of trying to be patient in the process. And definitely struggle in general in life of just wanting to control things. So just relaxing and being patient in the process. And I think one of the biggest heart things that I've been asking the Lord is to accomplish what he wants to accomplish over the course of this 2-month trip. We have a lot of ambitions and expectations about what we feel like this trip could provide for our family. But in the end, just praying the prayer every day, I've been writing it down, is just accomplish what you want to accomplish in us and through us. And like if the first week meant that I was definitely not 100%, probably operating more from a 70%, maybe worse. And what this next week will share too, just health-wise, maybe that's what the Lord has for us, is just to be able to slow down and enjoy what we can where we're at, and just have a dependent spirit on him given any and all circumstances. So I guess in the challenge, it also brought about another piece of me recognizing that this is truly a piece of submission for me, to just submit to whatever God has for us, regardless of what my expectations might be. So
there's a lot of newness to being on the road, unpacking, packing, and I'm not an anxious person at all. But I've definitely experienced a little anxiety with the RV and travel, and just waiting for something mechanically to go wrong that I cannot fix. But so far, old Rohrza has held up really well. Nothing we haven't been able to fix. We've had some water heater, but that was quick.
A door that wouldn't open.
A door that wouldn't open, which ended up with a broken latch, but we can survive that. I think the proximity time. So I think the first part has been like, from a roots perspective, sometimes you've got to prepare the soil for a new root to be able to grow into. And I think this first week for me has been more of a soil week. I haven't really seen new shoots of our tree. Not necessarily, but I feel like the soil conditioning has definitely, I've seen that. There's been a couple hard moments with the kiddos that have led to unique opportunities for me to like pull them aside and have a conversation where I probably wouldn't be around at home. Or I want to have the time to really have intentional, deeper conversations about why you did that. So a soil preparation for sure.
Yeah.
All right. And last but not least, we're doing these videos, yes, for our family to follow along and for our good friends, but we're doing it so we can look back and remember, right? This is a vlog type. So, and one of the things that we've asked ourselves several times over the last 4 months is when we're 89 years old, would we have regretted this decision? And so when we look at this, when we're 80, 90 years old, what would we hope to remember about this last week? For me, it's just, man, time flies by. The last week's gone by really fast. But I think too, it's forced me to remember and look at photos and videos of our children. We did it just last night when we were laughing it up with Tate and Cohen and Titus about just them in a crib and climbing out of the cribs. And, so time goes by fast, going to Jackson Hole for the second time as a family, but just 3 years later, that seems like a long time ago, but it's gone by really fast. And seeing that before and after picture. And then just so the photos of the kids in the last week already, I'm just going to really cherish and remember those photos. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, it's just thankful that we're doing this, even though, it is hard. It takes sacrifices. It's not cheap. And we've got things back home, next seasons of life that we put on pause for this. So, but it's all going to be worth it in the end.
I'd say my 90-year-old self, I hope I remember the joy of this season. I think, in the younger years, it's a lot physical, hard, like just doing everything for your kids physically. But as they're starting to get older, it's a lot more like the character and the heart behind everything. And so I just hope that I remember from this season. Oh no, I'm going to get emotional, but,
Get real. I like it.
But just remember like the sweet, the tender hearts that they still have, even though like we're getting into a season where they're more challenging conversations and it's more than just behavior, it's character development. And like Trey said, like when you're in proximity with your people 24/7, it creates a lot of issues that could pop up or opportunities. You could look at it just to get to talk to them about heart things. And so I just hope when I'm 90 years old, I can remember the joy that is to get that like inner perspective on the heart of people. I think that as you get older, maybe I will miss that, even though right now it feels tiresome and weary at times to like be repeating the same things over and over to your kids about kindness and what it looks like to think about others first, or how to respond respectfully, or things that just feel like I'm just like a recording over and over again. I hope that when I'm 90, I'll look back with like so much joy that I got to have this time where it was just really concentrated, and look back, just with thankfulness. And because I feel very thankful right now, but I hope that I remember that piece of it. So, yeah.
So we're going to cover every week how many miles we've driven, how many hours spent in the rig, and how many gallons of fuel. I think that's kind of a fun item to track along the way. So through week one, which gets us through all the way to Jackson Hole and the Grand Teton National Park. We are officially 1,840 miles into this bad boy, which equates to 32 hours in the RV. I've driven all of them so far, and Catherine has faithfully and patiently done some homeschool already. Our part of this is 5 kids homeschooled, and she's done some great homeschool work and got that momentum going. And just kept peace in the rig. And that means 248 gallons, which, it's been kind of interesting to track we are unfortunately in a war with Iran, which is having a negative impact on the cost of fuel. Which, looking back as our 90-year-old self, that'll be interesting to remember. And the impact it has had. We've kind of anywhere from the cheapest so far has been $3.85 a gallon. The most expensive actually was near home at just under $6. So pretty big range, but using what we've paid so far, we're a little over $1,000 in fuel costs. So that is your week 1 travel log update.
Okay, until next time, we are going to be on our route, growing more roots. Looking forward to recapping this next week, where we're going to be finishing up Yellowstone and headed into Bozeman, and can't wait for you guys to tag along on the route. So
that's all we got.